Dear VIP4SME project partners, this is an offline recorded webinar explaining this guide to patent mapping, also called patent landscaping. Patent mapping or patent landscaping is a very actual modern tool for patent search using a specific method how to depict the results of a patent search in a two-dimensional or even three-dimensional format. I would recommend that you also check and read the introduction to patent mapping, another file which gives a good overview on the applications of patent mapping and also on the general advantages of it. Whereas this is now a guide where I would like to explain you a step-to-step approach for patent mapping. So in general I would like to discuss which search options are recommended before you then depict the results, the patent list in the form of a patent landscape. The first option is to start with one very relevant patent, if such a patent is known, and then to build the search around it. The second approach is to use the possibility of semantic search, which is offered nowadays by several software providers, and to insert a text which is relevant for the subject. This may be an abstract of a patent, this may be a technical description, or the summary of a technical idea. The third approach is a rather classical one, that one chooses patent classes, international patent classes, and text, and in this respect sometimes it's also recommended to use the not function to exclude technical fields which should not appear in the result list. After this patent search has been done, the patent mapping may be used. In the following I would like to explain and to show with screenshots from the one program I used for patent mapping, that is PatSnap, how the different options can be used. I would like to stress that there are several patent search software providers nowadays who offer a patent mapping option, and therefore this guide has been set up as a generic guide which can be used for all types of software, but clearly the graphical depictions, the screenshots are made using PatSnap. So for instance it is recommended to display assignees in the resulting patent mapping. There is an option here to choose either 4 or 8 different colors, meaning that you can display 4 or 8 or up to 8 different assignees to have a graphical picture of the patent portfolio of these different companies. Another very instructive way to show results in the patent map is to display the international patent classes, because this gives a clear indication of the technical fields. And also here you have the option between choosing up to 4 or up to 8 different colors. A very helpful option is that you can identify the position of an own invention idea in the map, for instance by using the semantic search option, inserting text, and then having a triangle displayed in the patent map which shows where this invention idea is located in the patent map or patent landscape. Afterwards, one can also select several grids, so the whole patent landscape is divided into different fields, which I may show you later, and you can then afterwards choose those which are most relevant for you. You can also use the option of an animation, especially for displaying the timely development of the patenting in this technical field. Last but not least, there is the possibility to do a Whitespace analysis. That means to identify technical fields where there are only very few patents, and therefore if you have an invention idea in that field, you have a high chance of getting a patent granted and of having a good unique selling proposition. So let's start now the first search option. That means starting with one relevant patent. As I mentioned, I have used PatSnap for this examples. These examples were made at the first one-on-one pilot action with one customer who agreed that I can use the results of it for such a general explanation. So in this case we started with a German patent application in the field of plasma and coating, plasma coating, and in this case you see that we have PN, the patent number, inserted, and we have on the left also chosen two of the three international patent classes which are given for this patent. So this is a first step that you specify more in detail the field you are interested in. Then if you do this choice, I may point to it here. So you click on these two boxes of the three and click on this IPC. You choose the relevant IPCs, in this case two of the three indicated, and then afterwards you click refine. That means you insert it into the patent search. The next step is in this case that you copy the full search query and you hit the PadSnap button to the upper left, and then you get a screen like this that you have here a preview of the search query. You have the patent number and you have these two patent classes defined or chosen for the search. And the next step has to be to change the end to an or, because otherwise one remains at only the one German patent. But by changing it to or, this means that in general we are looking at all the patents which are in these two, one of these two patent classes, and the German patent is just an addition to this. You could also in this case just remove this German patent, because it will anyway be included as it has these two patent classes within. So if you remove it, like seen here, this is the case. If we now make a search with this condition, so in this case I have chosen the way that it is the German patent or this one of these two patent classes, so either the one or the other, and the result is 3265 INPADOC patent family representatives. You see in this line that in total it is 9,793 records, but clearly it's preferred that only the different one of the different patent family members is shown, so that only one representative of each invention idea is in the results. Now I would like to turn to the second search option. This is the semantic search. For instance, using the abstract of this relevant patent we had, and so we had here a German abstract, but one has to point out that only English texts can be used for the semantic search. An option that we have, if we have such an abstract in German, then we can choose now in the left bar here in the lower left corner, we can choose English as the language, and then we get also the translation into English indicated here to the lower right. Get one press back. In this case you see together with the German patent application you have a Chinese application, you have a European patent application which offers the English abstract, and you have a world patent application. So you can copy the English abstract from the European patent family member, like it is done here. and you insert it into this. So you use this button Semantic, which is lighted green here. You insert the text, so in this case the abstract, the English abstract. So first using the button Semantic, inserting the abstract, and then you do this so-called direct search. In this direct search, only the text is taken as a basis for the patent search, and therefore the text does have to be a bit longer and representative, with some keywords which are very specific for the technical field you are interested in. In this direct search, there is a default value of 1000 patent families as a result, which is indicated here. And one has to point out this semantic search can afterwards not be retrieved from history, because it is saved only in such a coded form. So it is recommended always to make a copy of the text, or to save the text you used for the semantic search in a Word file or so on, in order to be able to document it later on. How did you search? So now we want to make this patent landscape for the first time. So we use this button landscape here, and we arrive at such a window. We have an indication of the query, and we could add a condition which is indicated later. We have to choose here the number of patents. This can be done only in course steps, up to maximum of 5,000 patents. In this case, we are using the 1000 patents, which is exactly the number from the direct search. So we are using the 1000 patents, and we arrive at such a landscape. You see that you have at first some 3D appearance with hills, which means in these places you have many patents, and with valleys in between where you have only few or no patents. And each of the subfields is indicated or illustrated by such a tag. For instance, the tag to the lower left indicates it's all about medical, about plate, about preparation, formation, electrophotographic. You may also change this text if you find out, after studying some of the patents in this area, that some other keywords would also be relevant here, especially in your own approach. So in this case, we have had the applicants, and at first I would like to introduce you to the symbols which are indicated left in the map. At the upper corner you have a button which allows you to go to your workspace, which features all your saved work. So it is advisable that you define an own workspace for each time you consult the customer, for instance in a one-on-one pilot action, and you can then save all the things in one place and name it after the customer or customer and company, and therefore you have then a good storage. The second symbol is edit search query. So here you can change the search query, you can add additional conditions. The third symbol is that you can plot patents by assignee, international patent class, publication year. In this case, most of the time, either the first option to indicate the assignees or the second option to indicate the patent classes are to be preferred. But if you want to have a graphical representation of the time-wise development, you could also use the publication year. Then the fourth button is, or the fourth symbol is that this T, where you can use example text, for instance a patent abstract or a technical description in English, to plot project ideas onto the landscape. So at least if the text is really part of this technical field which is defined by the landscape, then it will be indicated by a triangle. I explain this then later on. The next is that you could also, next symbol is this, that you could also, such a search symbol, that you could also search within the landscape. And the next one is you can make a time lapse of technology development, so you can use an animation, you can define it, how long it is displayed and from which year to which year the time-wise development is indicated in an animation. This may give some additional insight into the development in this technical field. So in our case now, we have chosen, for instance, the IPC, here the international classification. The I, which is indicated here, can be used to indicate the detailed content of the international patent class. So this I can be used if you are not sure what this patent class means. In this case, we are grouping the patent classes into 4 groups. You see that this has already been assigned to one of the 4 groups, so the uppermost 2 are for group 1 and the others for the other groups. And on the right you have a good indication where these patent classes appear. Once again, here for indication, you choose the patent class, you group the IPC into 4 groups. And you also have the possibility, by pushing the button to the upper right here, to change from 4 to 8 groups. In this case, 8 groups have been chosen and are indicated by 8 different colors. So this is exemplified here. Now I would like to show you the option to choose applicants. So in this case, for instance, we have Fujifilm Corporation with most patents, and you take each of these and drop it in the specific group. So clearly you start with group 1 and then you decide whether a company has something to do with the other, is a sub-company of this company, or whether it's a different company and you use a different group. So in this case you have the assignees chosen, and very important for the patent landscape is that you use the box show all, because only then you have the patents itself displayed. Otherwise you have only some hills displayed. If you tick this show all box, you have then the option either to use columns or to indicate to show the single patents in the form of small circles. In this case the columns have been chosen. If you want again to change something or to remove assignees, you have to click on this symbol with the columns here, and you also should make a legend with the company name in this case. It is also important that we can save the generated landscapes. So you have this button save. You should use a well-defined title for it, and also a more detailed description below. So use this title, you have the description inserted, and you can then push the button update that this is saved in the workspace which you have defined before. So if we now start this refining with 1000 patent families, which is indicated here, again based on this semantic search we have done before, we can, for instance, refine it by choosing only those sub-patent classes which are in the C23C class. So you see there are several subclasses belonging to the C23C. We skip the other classes here, we choose and tick only those classes like indicated here, and afterwards again we use the refine button in order to have these choices integrated into the patent search. In this case now we have reduced the number of relevant patents from 1000 to 159 patents, and you see here to the left which IPC classes we have chosen. And now we can again make a landscape by pushing this button. So we have the 159 indicated always here in the line above the patent list, and we push the landscape button. We arrive again at this window In this case now we choose not 1000 patents but 200 patents, and we afterwards, so we have the query indicated here. Once again, the hint, you cannot retrieve the text you used for the semantic search from the history, so you should save it in another form in order to document or to retrieve it later how with which text you searched. You have chosen these 200 patents, and now you push the generate button, and you then get this patent map or patent landscape. In this case, 8 assignees were chosen and defined. So we again used this possibility, this symbol with the columns, to define the assignees. I have already mentioned that the text boxes, the tags, can be renamed. And now I would like to explain you how to identify the position of an invention in a map. For this purpose, you have to use the text tool indicated with a symbol T to the left of the patent map, and you copy and paste, for instance, abstract text for a new invention or a technical description you have already made. So it does not have to be an abstract of a patent, it can also be a detailed technical description, and the tool will then analyze the keywords in your abstract and will always put a higher weight on those keywords which are not appearing in a lot of patents, but which are very specific for such an idea. So it generally also checks which keywords are anyway abundant in all the patents, and these are weighed much lower, and specific keywords which appear only in few patents have a higher weight then. And with that artificial intelligence, the software indicates where the new invention is likely to sit within the overall patent landscape. This then provides a very good basis for identifying near patents which need further investigation for determining any potential infringement risks. So the idea of patent mapping is also that you then check the nearest other patents for possible novelty destroying features or for infringement. In case of infringement, you have then also easy possibility by having the patent, the legal status indicated, that you can check whether it's even also an infringement risk for a valid patent in the region which you are also interested in, or whether it's in quotation marks only novelty destroying. So in this case we have taken the abstract of a patent of this English patent member. We used this symbol T to have this window with the possibility to add text, and then you see this green triangle which is indicated here in the patent map in the lower right corner. And if you later on want to see the full text for this triangle, you just have to click on the symbol and such a window appears with the full text. Now let's go to the third approach. I have also named it a rather classical patent search approach, where you use patent classes and text. In this case, including the not function, because the customer mentioned that some results which would appear are not relevant for his considerations for his search. So in this case, you have the IPC indicated here, you have text, and you have the not conditions. So in this case, the customer was not interested in results from chemical vapor deposition or physical vapor. The result of this search with the search query shown before is that in this case we have 933 patent families. You see it again here, and you see here that also the text is highlighted, for instance this keyword precursor. If we now, because we saw maybe the result is a bit too limited, so in this search in the one-on-one pilot action, we dropped then the word precursor and used only the atmospheric, so atmospheric plasma coating. And with this search query we arrived at 4,375 patent families. So here the atmospheric and here the 4,375 patent families. We have now also pushed the landscape button and arrive at this picture after the assignees have been assigned or have been defined. So this is already the final result where I have chosen again this button with the columns here to the left, and I defined then some 8 different applicants which have most of the patents, or which are the first in the list in the number of patents, and we arrive at this graphical depiction with the different colors. Again, here in the column mode, you see that, for instance, here in the lower right corner you still have rather high columns with different other assignees, but on the other hand you see that many of the patents have already been assigned to companies which have applied for it. In this case I would like to explain you how one can indicate this European patent we have started with, because this was now not part of the search. So in this case we use again this second symbol with the hard disk symbol. With the search options we have the possibility now to add this condition. In this case we use OR because clearly we do not want to have only the European patent with this number indicated, we want to have it indicated additionally. So we use the data source symbol, we use OR condition, we have chosen the publication number, and we have inserted here this European patent number, and last we push the add button, and we see the result is that we have here an added condition with OR publication number is EP3094-761. An alternative to indicating the patent by using a OR condition in the query is that we could also add the abstract text of the patent. So the alternative would be to use the semantic search by pushing on that T symbol. You add the abstract here, and you have an indication of this patent in the lower left corner, and then you now have an option to focus your search in this very technical field around this European patent. You have to use here the button select grids, and by doing this the picture changes to a color indication of the various subfields or the various grids. And in this case you see also that each of these different colors, so the grids which belong to one color, they also have one tag describing what is the technical content. You have the grids grouped here. You choose now, or we choose the 4 grids near the European patent, which is in this lower left corner here. These 4 grids represent or contain 569 patents. So you have this EP here in the lower left corner, and these represent 569 patents. Afterwards you can set up a new landscape pushing on this button new landscape here. So you push on that button and you arrive at this more detailed landscape containing less patents. And in this case I have chosen the representation with circles, 1 circle per patent. So you can just click on one of the circles and indicate the patent parameters. In this case the only one grid now is chosen because the customer said this is a relevant subfield with tags plasma, coated, article, forming, small and solid. And by pushing the button view patents we can have these 11 patents in this case indicated in the window to the left, and so we have these 11 patents indicated here, and we can use this export function in the lower right corner of the window to export just these 11 patents. Next, I would like to explain you some setting features we have, some setting possibilities. Settings can be done by clicking on this symbol here to the left. For instance, contours have been chosen. Showing contours have been chosen in this case, so you get height lines for the hills, which indicate the height of the hills, representing the number of patents in this specific technical field. And you can choose also the labels. I would recommend this setting given here. And one feature which is also preferably used is to have clusters on. Here we see that in this case we have many patents in this hill to the upper left corner. So the customer was interested in this tag coating, and you have this hill here, and you click on one. In this case it's the US 8227029 from Novalet. And by clicking on this you also get a new window with the patent parameters here. So the clicked patent is US, this US patent. A specific feature of PadSnap, and maybe also of some others, is that you have also a value indicated, not at all patents but at some of them, which is based on rather parameter driven approach. So for instance, if it's in which legal state it is, in how many countries it is granted, what is the lifetime of the patent still, and another feature is also how many technical fields are covered. This is indicated by the patent classes, and then also the citations afterwards are relevant, because a patent which is cited many times afterwards is considered to be a basic, fundamental patent, and a very important and therefore also valuable one. You have here also the abstract indicated and a drawing. In order to use the prepared landscape in documents or for documentation, you have either the option to use the save button here, and or you can make a screenshot. The save option is a bit preferable, because there you are also asked to give a title and a description, therefore you have a better documentation. Now I would like to show you the option of the animation. You use this kind of film symbol here to the left, and in this case you have a development over time, indicating the development of patenting between 1990 and 2016. These two dates have been chosen in the fields for time range, and you have a runtime here of 12 seconds. So if this development over what similar ideas already exist. Patent mapping can also be used very favorably for a freedom to operate investigation. This graphical depiction of a lot of patents is better to be used than long patent lists. Therefore, one can say patent mapping, also called patent landscaping, is the most efficient way to assess and also graphically depict these huge volumes of data which come along by patent search, and therefore I would recommend this method very much, and I have already used it one time of the project as a test, and 2 times in one-on-one pilot actions in the VIP4SME project with a very good response of the customers. So here I would like to show you a patent mapping example which has been received by PatSnap themselves, or I asked for the permission to use it from their documentation. So the setting is that a company is going to research their freedom to operate in the field of plastic films. They start with the second option I have shown you by simply copy and paste the abstract text or invention disclosure for a proposed invention into the semantic search window. So you use again this T symbol to the left and you can then enter text. So that you have this text here, and after you have inserted this text, you get an indication of the position of the invention idea by this red triangle here. And it can be said that PatSnap and also other software providers which allow patent mapping to be made, and there are several ones, use artificial intelligence and machine learning to compare the text with millions of patent documents. And I have already mentioned that an essential approach is that keywords are distinguished by their importance in that sense that rare keywords are much more important than abundant keywords. So, and with this artificial intelligence based software, it is possible in seconds to predict where the patent will be positioned within the landscape, in this case the red triangle, and therefore it is also easy to identify which patents nearby need investigation and either to assess the novelty of the own invention, whether it is possible, feasible to get an own patent granted, or also to identify infringement risks in cases where there are patents in your own country or countries you are on the market. Last but not least, I would like to introduce this concept of Whitespace analysis. So patent mapping really gives a possibility to identify white space areas areas, technical areas with very few patents there, and therefore allowing own patents to be applied and also get granted, and to exploit this area then with new innovations. In this case, the use of a specific compound is explored, and we can see many areas of intense activity and competition, which are indicated by steep hills or high hills here, and high density of circles representing single patents. And on the other hand, we have also areas like indicated here with the blue rectangle, where there is only 2 patents in this case, and which are therefore very interesting if a company is able and willing to make research and development in this specific field. Here I would like to show you also about analyzing mapped patents. So this and definitively also other patent softwares relying on patent mapping and on underlying semantic search and artificial intelligence. They also have a concept here for analyzing mapped patents by keywords. You can define keywords and you can then also indicate them in different colors, and you can see which keywords appear in which documents, and therefore it is made easier to find relevant words and track their occurrence in patent documents, and to see which documents are really relevant and possibly novelty destroying. There is this concept here also in PatSnap of shared workspaces, but this also gives me the opportunity to show you how such a workspace looks like. You have a symbol here, you have a name of the workspace given by you, and you have the number of patents contained, and then you can have different workspaces for different topics or different customers, and you can make a share management. You can share your findings, your patent searches and patent maps, and collaborate with stakeholders, and so within your company or even with customers. And you can annotate your data with custom fields, and you can assign and read. You can assign an access to new users. You can define whether it's only a read access or also a write access. And that sums it up for this presentation on the guide on patent mapping. I just would like to invite you also to use the possibility to post questions in the question and answer section, which will be opened for that webinar. Thanks a lot. So goodbye, and I'm awaiting your questions. Thank you.